This episode of Hustle and Grace is brought to you by Dun& and Bradstreet. Monitor changes to your business credit file for free. Credit is key for your small business. Sign up for free notifications on changes to your business credit file. It's free. Learn more at the link in the show notes. You're sounding like a finance girlie. My best friend deadpanned over Marco Polo as she responded to my video about closing on a HELOC, shopping for life insurance, lamenting interest rates, and celebrating high yield savings accounts. Am I? I thought I knew I had learned a lot about personal finance in recent years, and I'd realized that people don't become wealthy because they just work more than the rest of us. Over the years, I've begun to learn that building wealth was as much about strategic decisions and investments as it ever was about getting a job where you have a large income and working a lot. So I thought today I'd share some of the lessons I've learned over the years, some of the habits I swear by, and some tips with you. So just think about this like it's your personal finance bestie sharing some thoughts with you about what she's digging into on Marco Polo. So tax season is upon us. So there's really like no better time than right now to assess our personal finance strategies and see what we can do better, especially if you're just crossing your fingers and sprinkling pixie dust in hopes of a tax refund. Anyone? Yes. So backstory, I've had a non-traditional financial setup. That's just my terminology. And by that, I just mean I've never had just one W-2. It's always been a mix of other things for my entire career. So over the years, I knew I needed to put some super smart practices in place to have predictability and reassurance that we or I were going about our finances in a smart way. There were a lot of chances for things to go off the rails. You know, if you make a different amount each month, you can easily fall behind on taxes, overspend, and just get in some bad habits. So for me, even though life is very different now, that feeling of anticipating overdrawing my bank account is both a distant memory and one I can pull up very quickly and easily. I think when you've ever been broke, when you didn't feel like you could even spend a dollar or two, when you're depending on literally being a dependent on your parents' insurance to go to the doctor and still be on the family plan for your phone, all because you can't possibly afford these things on your own, you don't forget that feeling. It really becomes a part of you when you go through a season like that. It's hard to forget not being able to afford to fully pay your bills. I remember when I was looking at apartments in New York, context, this wasn't that long ago. This was 2011. Okay. I realized as I was looking, I didn't even earn enough in a year to qualify for subsidized housing. At this apartment building, you had to make at least $17,000 a year, and I was making 13. I knew I needed really right then, I knew I needed to make some changes to earn an actual living. You know, hourly retail literally didn't pay enough for me to make ends meet. And when JC and I got married a few years later, I really knew we needed to figure out some financial things if we ever wanted to be able to own a home or feel confident about being able to provide for kids one day. So, over the course of the past 10 years or so, I've learned roughly like 12 financy things that I want to share with you today. I hope there might be something in here that is new to you and worth considering. And hey, if not, feel free to email me your financial tips. I'm not joking. Hilary at HilarySutton.com. I'm always ready to learn. Um, and by the way, caveat, I'm very much not a finance professional. I think most of you know that, but just putting that out there, this is not financial advice. I'm just sharing some things I've learned over the years that have helped me. So dig into additional research and check with professionals as you're making decisions. Bottom line, you're not alone, and it is possible to value creativity, flexibility, and work life balance, but also make some pretty smart financial decisions. Okay, here we go. My first financial tip is have a dollar-based budget. This we implemented when we first got married, and we had learned about some of Dave Ramsey's financial tips. So what this means is when you're budgeting each month, it's all based on how much income you earned the previous month. This was such a game changer for me because before that, I was just straight up winging it. It was always a surprise to me when I opened up my checking account to see what was going on in there. After exploring some of Dave Ramsey's approaches to personal finance, particularly his 7 baby steps for paying off debt and building an emergency fund, I implemented his dollar-based budgeting system as inspiration, though I have made some changes of my own. It's basically like this. You track all your income from the last month, and then you build a budget based around that. So you basically start with this big number, which is your total net income, and then you start deducting different line items. Mortgage payment goes here, electricity goes there, gym membership goes here, childcare goes there. And I actually have a downloadable template on my website, hilarysutton.com, that you can download to see exactly what we do and build your own dollar-based budget. The second thing is, well, it's directly connected to the first, and it's where Dave Ramsey and I go our own separate ways in terms of finances and philosophy. I put a lot of our expenses on a credit card, so I don't have specific line items in our budget for all the little subcategories that go on that credit card. This includes meals out, groceries, stuff from Amazon, car repairs, etc. I lump all this together as one line item and make sure we stay within budget for this collective category. A big part of the reason we put all this on a credit card is because we use a credit card that gives us points for every purchase that we can use toward travel. We love to travel, it's a big value of ours. So when we do, I never pay for rental cars and often don't pay for hotels either because of these credit card points. This is considered passive income because these are purchases I would have made anyway, but because I'm using a specific credit card, I get additional perks and benefits. This leads right into number 3. Pay your credit card balance monthly and make it a good credit card. If you have always avoided credit cards because you're not sure you're disciplined enough to not just spend, 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 I would say start with limitations. Only use it for gas or groceries. But soon enough, you will build that discipline to only spend what you know you actually can spend because you've got a budget telling you where those boundaries are. I recommend the Chase Sapphire credit card. It has the best perks, in my opinion, and is currently offering up to 60,000 bonus points for new customers. That translates to $750 in free money when you use it toward travel when redeemed through Chase Ultimate Rewards. I'll put my referral link in the show notes so you can utilize that. There are other credit cards that are solid too, but based on my research, this is the one that comes with the most and best perks. So, number 4, track monthly. It's important to stay on top of how much money is entering the chat and how much is exiting every single month. So, especially in terms of preparing for tax season, if you're a business owner, freelancer, if you have a couple of different sources of income, this is what I would recommend. I have an end of the month ritual where I walk through all the expenditures from the previous month and outline my business expenses that I can write off since I'm a business owner, as well as childcare expenses and medical care. All of these things are helpful to track on a monthly basis instead of trying to figure out in January what you did the entire calendar year before. I used to do that and it was just insane. It took so much time and it felt so tedious and was so just overwhelming. So, doing it in bite sized monthly increments is much more doable. And it also gives me good intel on what is happening with our spending. If we have lifestyle creep occurring, which is where you make more and thus you spend more, it can give me a sense of if we're beginning to spend too much, if we're getting into some not so great habits, and also gives me an opportunity to take a look just to make sure all the items on our statements look familiar. It's really easy for fraud to occur when we don't check our past spending. So, those are the 4 habits that have made a significant impact on our financial picture over the years. Those habits have helped us live within our means and save for big purchases. They've all also just given me peace of mind when there's fluctuation or surprises like pandemics, sudden client losses, etc. So next I want to share a few tools I've used to help manage our money wisely. But first, I want to share with you something I'm really excited about that I have never done before. This spring, I'm launching Hustle and Grace group coaching. In the past, I've created courses and I've done one-on-one coaching, but never before have I done a group coaching program. So why am I so excited about this? Well, one, the cost. Because this is a group format, the cost is cut significantly for each participant, but the value is not. In fact, because of the nature of the benefits of a group format, participants will get to network and build community with other like-minded people and getting their great ideas as well. This program will be one part marketing and branding consulting and 1 part business and life coaching. Because here's the thing, it's all interconnected. It all matters, and it's all a part of your life, especially if you're a parent or a person who really values a holistic, integrated approach to work and life outside of work, which is what we're all about at Hustle and Grace. So, if you feel like you need some help getting unstuck, getting clarity and an outside perspective on your brand, or even help with practicals and logistics about going from side hustle to full business, fill out the application located at HilarySutton.com/coaching. And my team will be in touch with you soon. This particular group coaching cohort, I'm only planning to do once at this cost. If you happen to be listening to this episode in the future, you will find updated information about my coaching at HilarySutton.com/coaching. For this one, applications for this cohort are due by April 21st. That is the deadline. So go apply today. That's HilarySutton.com/coaching. And before we get back to the episode, I just want to say thank you again to this episode's sponsor, Dun& Bradstreet. Hustle and Grace is made possible by this generous donor. Monitor changes to your business credit file for free. Credit is key for your small business. Sign up for free notifications on changes to your business credit file. It's free. Learn more at the link in the show notes. Now, back to the show. We are discussing personal finance on today's episode, and now we're getting into some nitty gritty specific tools I've used to help manage our money wisely. The first one is a high yield savings account. If you're my friend, I've probably bugged you about this in the past about getting one. Over the past couple of years, interest rates have been up in large part due to inflation. You've certainly heard about inflation. This has made borrowing money more expensive, but it has also made saving money more lucrative. Thanks to some smart recommendations from one of my favorite podcasts, How to Money, I found out about CIT Bank, CIT. Is it Kit Bank? We don't know. An FDIC insured bank that does not have a brick and mortar location, but does have some pretty incredible offers when it comes to growing interest in a savings account. So basically, I moved our savings from a bank we have been working with for decades into CIT Bank savings account and quickly went from making pennies in interest each month to making hundreds of dollars just for having the money sit in that account. Now, financial experts would probably tell you put more money in ETFs and max out your 401k, et cetera, rather than having any kind of large sum of money in a savings account. But for our particular set of circumstances, we wanted to have access to that cash easily available if and when we need it. So a savings account makes sense for us for now. Because of the same principle of high interest rates, we purchased some I bonds through the federal treasury. I bonds are a type of US savings bond designed to protect the value of your cash from inflation. This is guaranteed that as long as we don't cash out our I bonds too soon, they will accrue in value. We purchased some in fall of 2022, and they've already increased about 5% in value. Number 7, these days with the stock market hitting record highs, it may be a good time for you to begin investing, even without the assistance of a financial advisor. There's some pretty cut and dry investment options that you have. And now that you can set up a brokerage account through a brokerage firm like Charles Schwab, you can buy stocks yourself. You can just download the app on your phone. One of the safest routes to go if you open a brokerage account is buying ETFs, which you can trade like stocks, but actually represent a whole bunch of companies. So basically, the market as a whole has always performed well over the years. So buying an ETF ensures, and by over the years, I mean over the long haul. There have been times where it's dipped, but over the years, it's always trended up. So buying an ETF ensures that you're diversifying your investment. By the way, I got some really great value out of the book Think Like a Breadwinner, which I have here, by Jennifer Barrett. She unpacks ETFs in her book in greater detail, so I definitely recommend picking that up. All right, number 8, if you're a business owner, particularly if you're a service provider, charge more. Increase your rates. Increase your amount of offerings to current clients. Don't stop reaching out and marketing to build your portfolio of clients. I can and will do a whole episode on this, but this is also a very big piece of personal. But this is also a very big piece of personal finance. It's making sure that you are maximizing what you are charging for the value that you're offering. Number nine, if you're a homeowner or you have a goal of purchasing a home, research options on funding that purchase. Before a year or two ago, I had never heard of a HELOC. Have you heard of a HELOC? It is a home equity line of credit that you can use to essentially borrow money from yourself to spend on a home related purchase, whether it's a down payment of another home or building an addition onto your current home or doing a renovation. We closed on our HELOC recently, and it is giving us the opportunity to purchase a new home without having to let go of our current home, which we have a fantastic interest rate on. So we'll become landlords soon and we'll have renters here in this space, and we'll continue to build equity in this current home as it appreciates in value. That's something that I did not know about, had no idea about until recently. And I think that could be really transformational for a lot of people who live in a current home that they bought and they have a low interest rate on, and it is in an area that is highly rentable. So number 10. Now I want to share just two more thoughts really that are a lot less dense and specific than the previous few. If you've hung with me this far, you're the best. And here's some cut and dry ideas for you. Ready? Here's one. Sell stuff. I know. Just sell stuff. It's that simple. We tend to accrue a ton of stuff the longer we live, especially if we stay in the same space for several years. And much of it we no longer need, no longer use. These days, there are some really easy ways to resell stuff around the house. Just this year, I've sold some furniture and I have a goal of trying to sell one item a month. Now, is this the way I'm going to get rich? No. But listen, hear me. It's a mindset thing. It serves two purposes. First, it helps me clear clutter, especially because we're likely moving this calendar year. It also helps me with a subtle but like very real mindset shift. It's easy to get a scarcity mindset about money, finances, earnings when you have a fluctuating income and you don't necessarily feel like you have a lot of stability. But if you can identify something in your house on a random Tuesday and take a picture of it and put it on the internet and then trade it for cash to a willing buyer by the end of the day, it can help you with a mindset shift. The world is full of opportunity. The world is full of possibility. There is no need to panic. There are always ways to generate revenue if you're willing to look for them and put the work in. And even though I'm not going to get rich because I sold my standing desk for $60, hey, it's still $60 that I can either put in the bank and generate interest on, or I can use as fun money and enjoy a bougie brunch, which I would love to do. Either way, I'm still winning because I don't have a desk that I'm not using, taking up space in my home. And now someone else does have that, something that they did need. So check out your local consignment shops, Facebook Marketplace, and apps like Poshmark. You could get in a rhythm of selling items and eventually find yourself only surrounded by things you need and love. That sounds wonderful. So, number 11, last but not least, here's the big picture. You won't get where you want to go financially or career wise if you don't know what your goals are. You won't get where you want to go financially or career wise if you don't know where you want to go. So think about what your values are, what you would like to achieve in terms of your finances. Talk with your partner about this. Feel free to dream. And to get some additional inspiration, I've got a few recommended reading/listening resources. I'm going to put these in the show notes. But what they are is, like I mentioned before, Think Like a Breadwinner by Jennifer Barrett for some really practical tips. I also loved Rachel Rodgers' book, We Should All Be Millionaires. In this book, Rachel challenged me to double my rates. Yes, double what I charge. I didn't double my rates, but I did increase them significantly. And it resulted in me increasing my revenue significantly. And the two podcasts that I enjoy most about finance are How to Money and Money with Katie. Both are hosted by very smart, regular people who have helped me understand a lot more about finance than I did a few years ago. So hopefully these 11 and a half tips were helpful to you. If you have any additional questions, ask someone who really knows the answers, or you can email me And if you have anything else that you want to share around personal finance, I'm all ears. Don't forget that Hustle and Grace group coaching is now open. Don't forget that Hustle and Grace group coaching applications are now open. So hop on my website, hilarysutton.com/coaching and apply today.